Good afternoon, students. I am Uma Maheshwari, working as a biology CRT in KZBV Nakkapalli in Visakhapatnam. Today, we are going to discuss about diversity in living organisms. In living world, we see different kinds of plants and animals around us. If you go to a park, we see grass, plants, animals, and different kinds of flowers. We see different kinds of plants and grass. What is the range of difference? If you go to a jungle, you find different kinds of plants and animals. In plants, you find some plants are creepers, some plants are thin. You find bushes, you find big trees, and you find different kinds of animals like tigers, elephants, squirrels, rabbits, cats. In jungle, you find large varieties of plants and animals. The term diversity means variety. We don't have a sufficient time to study each one of them. We group them together, similar features. Studying about diversity is very difficult task. Thus our knowledge of entire living world depends on first making meaningful groups to carry out our study in a systematic manner. In this lesson, we will try to study the living diversity present among several living organisms, classify and appreciate nature's miracle. What is the need of classification? It gives better knowledge and understanding of organisms. It helps to study the organisms. It helps to make comparison in a easier way. It helps in understanding the relationship among the organisms and their interdependence. Classification makes our study more focused and help us to handle huge population of organisms. It gives an idea of evaluation. క్లాసిఫికేషన్ జీవుల గురించి పూర్తిగా అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. క్లాసిఫికేషన్ అనేది జీవులను ఒక క్రమ పద్ధతిలో అధ్యయనం చేయడానికి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. క్లాసిఫికేషన్ ఏ జీవుల నుంచి ఆ జీవులు ఏర్పడ్డాయో వివరించడానికి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. అదే క్లాసిఫికేషన్ జీవుల మధ్య ఉండే వ్యత్యాసాలను సులభంగా గుర్తించడానికి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. జీవుల మధ్య ఉండే సంబంధాన్ని పరస్పర ఆధారతత్వాన్ని వివరించడానికి కూడా క్లాసిఫికేషన్ అనేది ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. జనాభాలో చాలా రకాలైన జీవులు ఉంటాయి. ఆ జీవులన్నింటినీ అధ్యయనం చేయడానికి క్లాసిఫికేషన్ అనేది ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. ప్రకృతిలో జీవ పరిణామం ఏ విధంగా జరిగింది, వీటన్నిటి కోసం అవగాహన చేసుకోవడానికి క్లాసిఫికేషన్ అనేది ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. క్లాసిఫికేషన్ అండ్ ఎవాల్యూషన్. క్లాసిఫికేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్గానిజమ్స్ ఆర్ డన్ ఆన్ ద బేసిస్ ఆఫ్ బాడీ డిజైన్ ఇన్ ఏ form and function. Now the organisms which developed are supposed to be more basic than the organisms which have come into existence later. So we can see the classification of life forms is related with the evolution. What is evolution? Most of the life forms that we see today accumulation of changes in their body. Now these changes help the organism to survive better. They have occurred over a long period of time. Charles Darwin, he was the first one who gave the idea of evolution in the year 1859 in his book called The Origin of Species. Now when we connect the classification with evolution, we find that there are majorly two groups of organisms. The first group, they have obtained an ancient body structure which are not changed. But the second group of organisms, they have got thin structure relatively recently. So this first group of organisms are called primitive organisms. The second group of organisms are called higher group of organisms. All we can say that the first organisms are older, second group of organisms are younger. ఎవాల్యూషన్ అనగా జీవి యొక్క శరీర నిర్మాణంలో వచ్చే మార్పులు. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ జిరాఫీలు పుట్టుకతో అంత పొడుగైన మెడ కలిగి ఉండేవి కావు. తర్వాత చెట్లు బాగా పొడువుగా ఉండడం వల్ల వాటిని అందుకునే ప్రయత్నంలో వాటి మెడను అవి సాగదీయడం మొదలుపెట్టాయి. తర్వాత క్రమంగా జిరాఫీల యొక్క మెడ అనేది సాగదీయబడిపోయింది. ఆ లక్షణం తర్వాత తరాలకు అదే విధంగా సంక్రమిస్తూ వస్తుంది. పరిస్థితులకు తగిన విధంగా జీవులు తమ యొక్క శరీర నిర్మాణంలో మార్పులు చేసుకోవడం వలన ఆ జీవులు ఈ భూమి మీద ఎక్కువ కాలం మనుగడ సాగించగలుగుతాయి. మార్పులు చేసుకోలేని జీవులన్నీ కూడా ఈ ప్రకృతి నుండి తొలగించబడతాయి. ఎవాల్యూషన్ ఈజ్ ద ప్రాసెస్ ఆఫ్ అక్వైరింగ్ క్యారెక్టర్స్. నౌ లెట్ us study the history of classification. In India, classification had been the basis of studies in medicines and dates back to 1st and 2nd century. Charaka and Susruta had classified the plants on the basis of their medical importance. Thereafter, Parasar, in his book Vrikshayurveda, documented the classification system for several land plants for the first time. This classification mainly deals with the structure of the flowers. Let us study how biologists from 16th century have been trying to classify diverse organisms so far. Classification done by biologists till date. The following table shows how different biologists have gone about forming the first category in classification. The first classification is Linnaeus classification. Linnaeus classified into two kingdoms in 1735, Vestibulia and Animalia. The next classification is Haeckel classification. He classified into three kingdoms in 1866, Protista, Plantae, Animalia. Charton classified into two empires in 1925, Prokaryota, Eukaryota. Then Copeland classified into four kingdoms in 1938, Monera, Protista, Plantae, Animalia. Whittaker classified into five kingdoms in 1969, Monera, Protista, Plantae, Fungi, Animalia. The next classification is Wuppertal classification. He classified into three kingdoms in 1990, Bacteria, Archaea, Eukarya. Cavalier Smith classified into six kingdoms in 1998, Bacteria, Protozoa, Chromista, Plantae, Fungi, Animalia. Although biologists in the 16th and 17th century did not recognize that the similarities and differences among organisms were consequences of evolutionary mechanisms, that still sought a means of organized biological diversity. In 1758, Carolus Linnaeus proposed a system that has dominated classification for centuries. Linnaeus gave each organism two names denoting genus and species, such as Homo sapiens, the former representing genus while the latter representing species. He then grouped several genus into families, families into orders, orders into classes, classes into phyla, and phyla into kingdoms. Linnaeus identified two kingdoms, Animalia and Plantae. All the terms like species, genus, family, order, class, phyla, etc. were defined by Linnaeus on the basis of the similarities and differences studied by him in group of organisms. The first major breakthrough from the Linnaean model came from Thomas Whittaker in 1969. Whittaker proposed five kingdom system in which three kingdoms were added to the animals and plants, Monera, Protista and Fungi. Whittaker defined the kingdoms by a number of special characteristics. First, he specified whether the organisms are possessed a true nucleus or not, prokaryotic or eukaryotic. The eukaryotic unicellular organisms were placed into the kingdom Protista. The rest were three multicellular eukaryotic kingdoms that themselves by the general manner which they acquire food. Plants are generally autotrophs and use photosynthetic system to capture energy from sunlight. Animals are heterotrophs and acquire nutrients by ingesting plants or other animals and then digesting those materials. Fungi are also heterotrophs, but unlike animals, they generally break down large organic molecules in their environmental and live on them. Whittaker's five kingdom system was certainly an advance over the previous system because it captured the diversity of life in a better way. Three groups bacteria, fungi and protista did not fit well into the either animals or plant category. In the years since Whittaker system was developed, however, new evidences and methods have shown that five kingdom system also fails to adequately capture what we now know about the diversity of life. Microbial biologists became aware of these limitations as they discovered unicellular organisms that appeared to be prokaryotic but were extremely distinct in their internal structure and other characteristics from the traditional bacteria. Some of these unusual prokaryotics lived in hot springs and other places where temperatures were near to or even above the boiling point of water. We call them thermophiles. Other the extreme halophiles were able to tolerate even high salt concentrations. Other techniques like DNA, the chemical design of life, sequence data also increasingly suggested that these prokaryotes were most unlike the traditional bacteria. There are various hypotheses on the origin of prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Because all cells are similar in nature, it is generally thought that all cells came from a common ancestor cell termed the last universal common ancestor, LUCA. These LUCA eventually evolved into three different cell types. Each representing a domain. The three domains are the archaea, the bacteria, and the eukarya. A classification as suggested by the Woods et al. Archaea and bacteria are prokaryotic cells as they do not have a membrane-bound nucleus. The nuclear material is dispersed in cytoplasm. The cell walls of the bacteria, unlike the archaea, contain a fat-like chemical peptidoglycan. Eukarya have a eukaryotic cells with a membrane-bound nucleus. The hierarchy of classification. Classification is done starting from grouping living organisms into domains. For example, prokaryota, eukaryota, archaea. Hierarchy starts from life. Life under domain kingdom, kingdom under phylum, phylum under class, class under order, order under family, family under genus, genus under species. Domain is the largest category, species is the smallest category. Species are grouped into genus, genus are grouped into family, families are grouped into order, orders are grouped into classes, classes are grouped into phylum, phylums are grouped into kingdom, kingdom are grouped into domain. Domain is the largest category with several dissimilar and few similar characters. Species forming smallest category with several similar and few dissimilar characters. Now let us study the five kingdoms of classification. Monera consists of unicellular prokaryotes. Main members are bacteria. They are present in everywhere. Bacteria helps to make curd, cheese, yogurt. Intestinal bacteria synthesis B12 vitamin. In bacteria, true nucleus is absent. Membrane-bound cell organelles are absent. According to Whittaker classification, bacteria belongs to Monera. The main characteristics of Monera, unicellular prokaryotic organisms, have a cell wall. Mode of nutrition is phototrophic or heterotrophic nutrition. Blue-green algae, Mycoplasma, bacteria are the example for Monera. Blue-green algae also referred as cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria fix the nitrogen in the soil. Mycoplasma are pathogens which cause diseases in several animals. Cell wall is absent in Mycoplasma. Lack of cell wall, it makes resistant to several antibiotics. Mode of nutrition in Mycoplasma, saprotrophic or parasitic. According to Carl Woese, Monera classified into two types, Archaebacteria, Eubacteria. In Latin word, archae means ancient, eu means true. We call Archaebacteria is ancient bacteria, Eubacteria is modern bacteria. Eubacteria is more complex than Archaebacteria. Archaebacteria can survive extreme conditions like hot water spring, freezing water at Antarctica, extreme salt conditions in Dead Sea. In this reason, we call the Archaebacteria extremophile. Eubacteria commonly found in the environment and thrive in neutral condition. Mycoplasma, blue-green algae belongs to Eubacteria. Next kingdom is Protista. Unicellular organisms have simple body design. Multicellular organisms have complex body design. N.S. Stekel placed the unicellular eukaryotes under the Protista. In Protista, organisms live underwater. Some organisms live as parasites in the animals. Mode of nutrition is Protista is heterotrophic or autotrophic or both. Mode of reproduction is sexual reproduction or asexual reproduction. Kingdom Protista, we can see algae, diatoms, chlamydomonas, protozoas. Generally in Protista, cell wall is absent, but Euglena have a cell wall. Protista have specialized appendages for locomotion. Amoeba using pseudopodias, Paramecium has cilia, Euglena has flagella for locomotion. Among Protista, most of the protozoans are pathogenic and cause diseases in higher animals. Fungi are multicellular organisms and can live in different habitats: cardboard, wooden plant, tiffin box, school bag, our body. It has well developed vascular system. It has no chlorophyll. Fungal cell wall made up of chitin. Fungal nutrition is saprotrophic nutrition. In saprotrophic nutrition, fungals secrete enzymes. Digestive enzymes convert complex molecules into simple molecules. Fungi absorbs the simple molecules. Fungi associate with algae, we call it lichen. Fungus absorbs water and give to algae. Algae performs photosynthesis using water. In this relationship, organisms benefit mutually. This is called symbiotic relationship. Sometimes we observe greenish growth on trees. These are called lichens. In fungi, all are multicellular organisms except yeast is unicellular organism. We use yeast in our daily life to prepare bun, cake, chapati, etc. Fungi plays very important role in our daily life. Some fungi are useful to prepare medicines. Example, penicillium. Some fungi causes diseases. Example, aspergillus. Some fungi are used to edible. Example, agaricus. Some fungi are poisonous. Example, web cap, skull cap, death cap. Now let us study the kingdom Plantae. Plantae are the second largest kingdom. First largest kingdom Animalia. Characteristics of Plantae: multicellular, eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic means well-defined nucleus, membrane-bound cell organelles. Plants have special character, that is cell wall. Cell wall is made up of cellulose. Cellulose is the most abundant sugar on the earth. They are usually autotrophs and use mainly chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Kingdom Plantae is very diverse. Plants are source of many medicines like painkillers, anti-malarial drugs, and a cancer drug. Plant substances like rubber, resins, tannins, gums used commercially. The first level of classification among plants depends on whether plant body has well differentiated distinct parts. The next level of classification is based on whether differentiated plant body has special tissues for the transport of water and other substances within it. Further classification looks like ability to bear seeds and whether the seeds are enclosed within fruits. Observe this moss plant. You can observe some flowers-like structures in the moss plant, but they are not exactly flowers. There are seed-like structures called spores. Spores contain very little food while the food stores a lot of it. Moreover, seeds are produced from ovary of flower, whereas spores produced in the structure called as sporangium. That means spores comes from sporangium, seeds comes from ovary of flower. If you get fern leaf, you can observe some brownish or blackish dot-like structures on the leaf. These are the spore-bearing bodies. Plants like moss, cycas and fern which do not produce flowers and have sporangium as a reproductive structures are called non-flowering plants or cryptogams. Cryptogams are which they do not produce flowers are called cryptogams. Plants which they produce flowers are called phanerogams. Among flowering plants in which seeds are enclosed within fruits are called as angiosperms. Example, mango. In mango, seeds are enclosed within the fruit. And some fruits seeds are not enclosed but exposed to outside are called gymnosperms. Example, pine. In pine fruit, we can see the seeds are outside. Plant kingdom divided into two groups, cryptogams, phanerogams. Cryptogams are non-flowering plants, phanerogams are flowering plants. Non-flowering plants does not produce seeds, flowering plants produce seeds. Cryptogams again divided into two types, bryophyta, pteridophyta. Phanerogams divided into two types, gymnosperms, angiosperms. Bryophyta have false roots and leaves. Pteridophyta have two roots and leaves. In gymnosperms, we can see naked seeds. In angiosperms, seeds inside a fruit. Angiosperms again divided into two types, monocots and dicots. Monocots have one-seeded leaf, dicots have two-seeded leaf.